This is the last one. Okay, so we got 3 problems. If y'all want to look at these, I wrote them up on the board. And if these go pretty quickly, I don't mind doing another one. So my first 2 I'm going to do those 2 equations, and then I'll come back and do the one that Brady had with the circumference of the garden. That's actually a good one. So we need to understand it. So my first 2 are both equations. So my directions are going to be solved for each of them. The first one is 3/4 is equal to W plus 6. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you guys could work this one. We know that our job is to get the W by itself, right? So to get the W by itself, what would I have to do? Subtract 6. I can do that. This one to me is a nightmare if I subtract 6, though. By subtracting 6, I'm going to have to say 3/4 is minus 6, and 3/4 is smaller than 6, so I'm going to get a negative. I'm going to have to convert it to fractions that can be subtracted. It's just a pain in the butt. So what I'm going to do instead is do that clearing the fraction like I talked to you guys about before. So I'm going to multiply the whole equation by the denominator that I see, which is 4. So in doing that, I'm going to get rid of that 3/4 because the denominator is going to cancel out. And I'm going to get a fractional answer, but that's okay in the end. I just don't want fractions in the beginning, okay? So I'll multiply the 4 times 3/4 is equal to 4 times W plus 4 times 6. So notice that I multiplied 4 by all those guys, right?
You lost me.
Okay, so I took the 4 and I multiplied it times this guy. I multiplied times this guy, and I multiplied times that guy. It's sort of like distributing, but we don't call it distributing, but it's kind of like that. Okay? Remember, I can do, as long as I do the same exact thing, I can add something to both sides. I can subtract something from both sides. I can multiply. So that's what I'm doing. I'm multiplying. As long as I multiply the left side and the right side by the same thing. And I did because I multiplied everybody times 4. Okay? And that is legal. This is not how they show you to do it in the explain. The explain, they make you find the common denominator and all that stuff. Okay? Okay, so right here, this is 4/1. You're multiplying these 2 fractions together, and why we use the 4 is so that those would divide out. Okay? So what happens now is I'm going to end up with 3. That's beautiful. Equals 4W plus 24. Now that's a basic equation that you're just going to take those steps that we talked about before. Your job is to get the W by itself. And I have to undo a times and a plus. Which one do I undo first? Do I undo the times 4 first or the plus 24? Okay. So I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. Okay, remember this is money. I've only got $3 in my pocket, but I'm trying to spend 24. I'm short. How much am I short? $21. So that equals 4W. And I told you I'm going to get a fraction in the end. Y'all see it? You see what the fraction's going to be? Yeah, it's going to be a crappy fraction, but it doesn't really matter. So I'll divide by 4, and there's the answer right there. Negative 21/4. These 4's divide out, so W is equal to negative 21/4. Okay, again, that is not how they show it in explain. In explain, they want you to keep the fractions in and find that common denominator. But I think you guys struggle more with doing that, where this, if you can wrap your head around, oh, I can multiply by whatever that denominator is that I see and get rid of the fractions. And then y'all, typically, you guys don't have any problem solving that equation right there. Y'all can solve 3 equals 4W plus 24.
Why didn't you do anything with that?
Right here? These divided out. Oh, this is a 6. I'm sorry. My pen did a little craziness right
That's
now.
what confused me a while ago too.
No, it's a 6. It's this 6 right here that's at the back.
Now I see.
You see?
Where do you cancel out the 4?
Yes.
You're always, I mean, one's always gonna go underneath that, so basically you can just use that top number.
That's what you're supposed to use.
Okay.
So this
So I
is
can
what,
just skip, like even up and right out the fraction, you just.
you don't even have to,
fours.
yeah, you
I
don't
got
even
you.
have to write the one underneath. Typically, what'll end up happening is you'll get to the point whenever you're multiplying 4 times 3/4, you're gonna just do that. Oh,
Right.
I'm left with 3
Every time.
every time.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, so when you see fractions in the problem, go to that denominator and use the denominator. And it does not matter what type of equation it is. Okay? When you see a fraction, it's way easier. Go to the denominator, use that denominator, and multiply through by that denominator. Much easier. Okay, so let's look at number 2. Another fraction, okay? Y'all just love those fractions. So the second one is also a solved equation problem. And my equation is 4 is equal to 3x plus 20 over 2. Another fraction. So go to the denominator. So what denominator do you have? 2. Use him. Okay? So what happens on this one, it looks a little different because of that. It's a binomial up there, 3x plus 20. But whenever I multiply, I'm going to multiply by 2. I'm going to multiply by 2. Does everybody see that? Everybody okay with that? Okay, so right here, and this is the one misconception that students have. They want to take the 2 and they think they should multiply like 3x and 20. But remember, why did you put the 2 right there? What was the reason for putting the 2? To get rid of the bottom 2. Yeah. So what happens is those 2's are going to cancel out.
Okay, so then you're just left with the
3x plus 20
equals 8.
That's right. And so now it's a very simple equation. We can solve it step by step. So 2 times 4 is 8. Those 2's divided out, so I just have that 3x plus 20 left. Okay, so now I'm back to all those same basic steps. So what are the 2 operations that I see? I see multiply by 3, right? And I see add 20. And then I have to do the inverse of those. So what's the inverse? The inverse would be subtract 20. And the inverse here would be divide by 3. Okay? So which one am I going to undo first?
Subtract 20.
Subtract 20. So I'll subtract 20 from both sides. So I get, I've got $8, but I'm spending 20. Am I short?
Yes.
Yeah, how much am I short? 12. So negative 12 equals 3x. How do I undo that? Multiply by 3 with a divide by 3. So I'll divide by 3. And so x